Recently, I had purchased some items from a seller when he contacted me saying he could bundle in a free graphics card. As you know me, I love a bargain, but there was a catch. This is the AMD or ATI, they're both the same company, HD 5570. The HD 5570 was released in February 2010 and is built on the 40nm Redwood graphics processor, which is the Terascale 2 architecture. The GPU has a core clock of 650 MHz and a memory clock of 800 MHz. So as you can see, this isn't a powerhouse to any stretch of the imagination. And its last drivers were released in 2015. Now, if you remember, I said there was a catch, which is the seller said that the card worked but was very slow and would not let the drivers be installed onto it. So we need to fix that first. I decided to change the thermal paste on the card, as I do this with all other pre-owned cards I show on the channel. As you can see, the thermal paste on this was rock solid and had to be scraped away. After the thermal paste had been changed, I put the card into my test system and it booted up first time, which is a great start. The test system we have today is a Core 2 Quad Q6600, 7GB of DDR2 RAM, and of course our HD 5570, and all the games will run off a Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM drive. This is plenty to let the HD 5570 stretch its legs. Then I proceeded to install the drivers, which is where the seller said it had failed when he tried it, but this time it installed the drivers fine. So this just shows how much changing your thermal paste can do for your graphics card. And now MSI Afterburner is working and you can see that it is running at a nice and cool temperature. So first off, I tried some simple web browsing. As you can see, it loads up the YouTube homepage in good time, but is not the fastest given the age and the specs of the card. I was quite impressed though how the card could play 1440p video with no issues, but remember this is 1440p downscaled to a 1080p monitor. I tried 4K, but it was just a little bit too much for this card. As you can see as well, scrubbing is fairly decent. Next up, I loaded up Footbin with all its nice graphics, and it was usable, but again not the fastest in the world. Twitch was also the same, around about. It was usable and you can watch all your favourite streamers at high quality, but loading performance on this card wasn't fast, but definitely usable. But let's see how this free graphics card performs 10 years on in some games. First off, we tried CSGO at the low settings and shadows set to high at the 1080p resolution. We saw an average of 40 FPS, a 1% low of 18 FPS and a 0.1% low of 7 FPS, which is really good for this card. I really didn't notice too much stutter, just the odd one from time to time. It's playable but not competitive. Next off, we tried GTA 5 at the normal settings and the 720p resolution. For anyone who plays GTA 5 on PC, they will know the normal settings are the lowest settings possible on the game. We saw an average of 26 FPS, a 1% low of 0.2 FPS and a 0.1% low of 0.2 FPS. Now, this was strange from the game as we had a few varying results on this, and I just decided to choose the worst readings we got. The lowest came from textures sometimes not loaded in, and you can see that the GPU usage go to 0%, and through various benchmarks tests the card would not hit 100% usage, so it seems to be that the drivers have not been optimised well to run this game, but this is typical Terascale drivers. But the game could be playable from time to time, but it completely depends on how the game is feeling and how the graphics card feels about the game. As this card supports a DirectX 11 API, we were able to run everyone's favourite game, Fortnite. We ran the game at the lowest possible settings, 100% 3D resolution and at the 720p resolution. We got an average of 23 FPS, a 1% low of 6 FPS and a 0.1% low of 4 FPS. So not great results, but if you don't mind lowering that 3D resolution, you could get some playable frame rates. However, it's not competitive. But can I just say, this is a 10-year-old weak graphics card that can run newer games fairly well for its age, which is amazing really, to say how much this has held up over the years despite its low power. The final game that we tried out was Dirt Rally 2.0, which is the newest title that we tried out today. We ran the game at the 1080p resolution with the lowest preset selected. I would have chosen a lower resolution, but every time I put it into 720p it would change to 800 by 600 even though it said 720p. But at 720p with the lowest settings we got an average of 22 FPS, a 1% low of 16 FPS and a 0.1% low of 15 FPS. So I think it was trying to tell us something really. So this game wasn't playable on this card. So is this card worth getting in 2020? No, just because for not much more money you can get a much better card that can perform miles better than this one. Something like the HD 7770, which can go for under £20. But if you have this card in your system, you're getting it for free like me, or you've seen one for a couple of pounds, then it will get you by, but personally I would look for an upgrade. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.